Hey Steelers Nation, it feels good to be back talking about our team, the black and gold that never stops keeping us on our toes. We're sitting at 5 wins and 3 losses, which in this 17-game era basically puts us right around the halfway point of the regular season. So what better time to stop for a second and take a good, hard look at how the 2025 rookie class has been doing so far. There's been promise, some frustration, a few surprises, and definitely plenty of storylines that will carry over into the rest of the year. So let's dive right in, and just to make things interesting, we're going to do it in reverse order, starting from the later picks and working our way up. Let's start with Dante Kent, the cornerback taken in the second pick of the 7th round. Sadly, Kent hasn't had the chance to show us much on the field yet because he's been stuck on injured reserve since late August with that right ankle injury. The team could have activated him by now, but hasn't. And honestly, that tells us something. The Steelers see him as part of their long-term plan, not a quick-fix player. But here's the thing. Before that injury, Kent impressed everyone in Latrobe. His speed jumped off the field, and you could see flashes of a guy who might eventually develop into a strong coverage piece. This might not be his year, but he's not been forgotten. You can tell the organization sees potential in him, a guy who could grow into a meaningful role down the line. Then there's Carson Bruner, the other 7th-round pick, and he's been exactly what the Steelers drafted him to be, a special teams force. The son of former Steelers tight end Mark Bruner, Carson came in ready to hit and hustle on every kick and punt coverage, and he's done just that. Maybe he hasn't made the same kind of highlight reel tackles he did early in the year, but his consistency, awareness, and toughness on special teams stand out every week. He's one of those guys coaches love having around because he brings energy and discipline. He might not be a household name, but if you're watching closely, you'll see why he might stick around this roster for years. Now, moving up, we get to Will Howard, and oh man, what a story this could have been already. Fans love this kid, and you can feel that every time his name comes up. But here's the reality. He hasn't taken a single regular season snap yet. That finger injury from the preseason completely derailed what was supposed to be his first big opportunity to show what he could do in the NFL. He's back now, practicing, staying sharp, but if we're being honest, he's still behind the curve. If something crazy happened and both Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph went down, odds are it would be Skylar Thompson who steps in before Howard. That's not a knock on him. It's just the reality of the situation. The good news is that next summer will be a huge opportunity for him to catch up, to prove himself, and maybe even fight for a spot depending on who the team brings in through the next draft. The guy's got talent and charisma, and he's handling the situation like a pro, but there's still a lot of work ahead before he's truly in the mix. Then we've got Yaya Black, the 5th-round pick, and this one's a little complicated. I'll be honest, there's been some disappointment here, though not necessarily because of him as a player. It's more about how little he's been used. Coming out of college, he looked like someone who could instantly plug a hole in the defensive front, a big-bodied run stuffer who could disrupt passing lanes and create chaos up front. But for whatever reason, that hasn't translated into consistent snaps yet. Maybe it's because of depth at the position, or maybe it's just part of his development curve. But you can't help but feel like there's more in him waiting to be unleashed. The coaches clearly like his tools, but for now, he's still waiting for that real chance to claim a role. It's not time to give up on him at all. He's got the size, the instincts, and the attitude to make an impact. It just hasn't clicked yet. Now, when we get to the 4th-round pick, Jack Sawyer, things start to get more interesting. Sawyer just made the biggest play of his young NFL career with that interception against Indianapolis. And man, that was a moment to remember. You could tell it wasn't just about the stat sheet. It was about confidence. The coaches love when a guy like Sawyer shows up big like that because it gives them faith to expand his role, to trust him more in that edge rotation. I'll admit, I was skeptical of this pick when it happened. Maybe that's because Steelers fans are so used to explosive, game-changing edge rushers that anyone who isn't immediately wreaking havoc feels underwhelming. But Sawyer's been proving he belongs. He's doing his job, holding his gaps, learning, and earning his snaps. And that interception? That's the kind of play that can spark a young player's season and maybe even shift his career trajectory. Then comes my personal favorite storyline from this rookie class, Caleb Johnson, the 3rd-round running back. This kid is fascinating, not just for what he brings physically, but for how he's handled the mental and emotional transition to the NFL. At Iowa, he was the guy, the centerpiece, the workhorse, the offense itself. So coming into the Steelers system, where he's sharing touches behind Jaylen Warren and Kenny Gainwell, that's been an adjustment. Early on, you could tell he was struggling with that. Not in a bad attitude way, but in that quiet, internal competitor sense, like I'm not used to being on the sidelines this much. But over time, he's matured. You can see in the way he runs when he gets his chances. Every carry, every touch, he's running like he's trying to prove something. He's already erased the memory of that early season mistake on the kick return. He's focused on his real job, being a running back. And even when he only gets 1 or 2 carries in a game, you can see that burst, that fall forward power that made people excited about him over the summer. Maybe the early talk of him being a rookie breakout star was too ambitious, but give him time. He's adjusting, he's learning, and he's coming along just fine. His year will come. Now, it's true. If you look at this rookie class overall, the production numbers aren't jumping off the page. You don't see a ton of box score dominance or immediate starters changing games every Sunday. But sometimes, development isn't measured in stats. It's about flashes, progress, and patience. And that brings us to the top of the draft, the first-round pick, defensive lineman Derek Harmon. When you pick a guy 21st overall, especially in a class full of talented linemen, you expect fireworks. And Harmon came in with that hype, a pass-rushing specialist, a guy built to get sacks and pressures. The start wasn't ideal. He missed time early, which slowed his rhythm. But in his 6 games so far, he's recorded 2 sacks, 6 pressures, 13 tackles, and only 1 missed tackle. Those aren't jaw-dropping numbers, but if you watch closely, you see his value goes way beyond the stat sheet. His presence has quietly stabilized the run defense. When he's shedding blocks and sealing gaps, running backs are bouncing plays elsewhere. Offensive coordinators notice that on film. When number 99 is on the field, they think twice about running his way. That alone changes how teams attack. And that's huge for a defense still trying to find its full rhythm. What's been really impressive about Harmon isn't just his play, it's how he's carried himself. He's mature beyond his years, constantly talking with veterans like Cam Hayward and the lesser-known depth guys who have been around for a while. He's eager to learn, always asking questions, always trying to pick up little tricks of the trade. That attitude is what turns good prospects into great players. He's the kind of guy who's going to keep improving week after week. And by the time we hit the end of this season, fans might start seeing just how important he's becoming to this defensive front. So yeah, this rookie class might not be lighting up the league statistically, but there's a lot to like here. Guys learning, adjusting, preparing to make their mark. And as the Steelers push deeper into the season, with Los Angeles up next and some tough games ahead, these young players are going to matter more and more. Maybe not as stars right away, but as part of that slow, steady build towards something stronger in 2026. That's how championship cores are built, through patience, development, and the right kind of hunger. And if this class keeps trending the way it is, Steelers Nation might be seeing the early pieces of something really special taking shape in Pittsburgh. Now that we have gone through the rookies and what they have shown so far, it's time to turn our focus back to the bigger picture. The team as a whole, the 5-3 record, and what lies ahead as the Steelers head into the real grind of the season. Because let's be honest, this stretch right here is where teams reveal who they really are. The early excitement, the preseason optimism, the mid-season debates about who's hot and who's not, all of that starts to fade away. What's left is the truth of whether this team can actually hang with the best, whether it can push through inconsistency and find a real identity on both sides of the ball. The question that everyone's been asking is simple. Did that big defensive performance against Indianapolis mark a turning point, or was it just a one-week flash? Fans want to believe it was the start of something real. They want to believe this defense, that has shown glimpses of greatness, is finally ready to lock in and dominate week after week. But as any longtime Steelers fan knows, this team doesn't earn faith with one performance. They earn it by stacking them. And now, heading into a matchup against the Chargers, that's exactly what needs to happen. Let's start with the defense, because that's where this team's heartbeat lies. Against the Colts, everything seemed to click. The pressure up front, The takeaways, the swagger. It felt like old-school Steelers football again. Jack Sawyer making that interception, Harmon holding his ground in the trenches, and the veterans leading the charge with relentless energy. But one strong game doesn't make a trend. What matters now is whether that same intensity can carry over against a much more dangerous opponent. The Chargers, under Jim Harbaugh, are no joke. They might not have Najee Harris, Omar Hampton in the backfield anymore, but they still emphasize the run game. And then there's Justin Herbert, who's as versatile and productive a quarterback as the league has right now. The guy can card you up through the air or take off running when you least expect it. If the Steelers' defense doesn't stay disciplined, Herbert will make them pay. That's why this week isn't just about proving something to fans. It's about proving it to themselves. The Steelers have to show that their defensive success wasn't just a one-off burst of energy. They have to prove they can execute that same formula against a better offense. They need to tackle cleanly, set the edge, and make Herbert uncomfortable in the pocket. Because when this defense is aggressive and unified, it's capable of shutting down anyone. But when it starts missing tackles or losing gap integrity, things can get ugly fast. So this game, right here, is an early test of maturity. Can they stay focused, not just hyped? Now, let's talk offense, because that's where the frustrations have been building. The game against the Colts was a win, yes, but the running game just wasn't there. The line struggled to open lanes, and the backs never found their rhythm. That's something that simply has to change if this team wants to make a real push. You can't rely on turnovers and defensive scores forever. The Steelers need to find that balance again, that identity where the run sets up the pass and keeps the opposing defense guessing. Caleb Johnson could help here if he continues to earn more carries. His physicality and burst could provide that spark this offense is missing on early downs. But the big question is whether the coaching staff will give him that chance, or if they'll keep leaning heavily on Warren and Gainwell. Either way, they need production. They need rhythm. Because going into Los Angeles and trying to win a shootout against the Chargers isn't the formula for success. They have to control the tempo, control the clock, and make the game theirs. And then there's Aaron Rodgers. Look, not everything that went wrong last week was on him. In fact, most of it wasn't. But the connection between him and the receivers still isn't where it needs to be. There were timing issues, miscommunications, and moments when it just felt like they weren't seeing the field the same way. That has to improve, and fast. The Chargers' defense might not be elite, but it's opportunistic, and they'll take advantage of any mistake. Rodgers doesn't need to be perfect, but he does need to find that rhythm with his playmakers, especially the tight ends, who've been too quiet lately. This offense works best when everyone's involved, when Rodgers spreads the ball around and forces defenses to defend the whole field. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The rumor mill in Steelers Nation is on fire today after head coach Mike Tomlin dropped comments about the team's owner that no one has dared to voice until now. Sources close to the team say Tomlin, known for his unshakable composure, hinted at frustrations simmering behind the polished facade of Heinz Field. According to insiders, the usually tight-lipped coach didn't hold back when questioned about the front office, making remarks that have left fans speculating wildly. Sometimes the decisions from upstairs are, let's say, unexpected, a source claims Tomlin said in a closed-door meeting that somehow leaked. While he didn't name names explicitly, the reference to ownership was clear enough to ignite social media and local talk radio. Fans are divided. Some interpret his words as a subtle jab at team management, pointing to recent questionable roster moves and the constant shuffle in key positions. Others speculate Tomlin was merely voicing concern over the growing pressure on players and coaches alike, especially in a city where football is more religion than sport. Either way, Pittsburgh insiders are buzzing about a potential rift that no one saw coming. The timing is curious. The Steelers are in the middle of a rebuilding phase, and whispers suggest Tomlin's patience may be tested as he balances loyalty to the franchise with the desire to maintain control over the locker room. One anonymous source even hinted that this could mark a turning point in the coach-owner dynamic, a drama that has quietly simmered for years. Social media is ablaze, with fans dissecting every syllable of Tomlin's comments. Pundits are weighing in, some calling it a strategic leak to force ownership's hand, others warning it could signal trouble ahead for the Steelers' storied franchise. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. Pittsburgh has never been this on edge, and the fallout from Tomlin's candid words is only beginning. Is this the start of a new chapter in Steelers history, or just another season of whispers in the Steel City? For now, the city holds its breath, waiting for the next bombshell from a coach who rarely speaks without purpose. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.